Welcome to Puebla, the capital of Puebla State in Mexico and the fourth largest city in Mexico with a population of around 3.4 million. The city is only about 2 hours drive from Mexico City. Founded in 1531 by the Spanish, this city is one of the oldest in Mexico and is the first Spanish settlement in Mexico that did not involve settling on an existing indigenous city-state. Puebla was an important city for Spain because it was midway between the main port of Veracruz and the capital of Mexico City. In 1987, Puebla's historic center was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to its history and architecture. Today, Puebla is famous nationally and internationally for its history, architecture, and art, as well as for being one of the food capitals of Mexico. So one of my favorite things to do here in Puebla is to just come down to the central plaza. In Mexico, they're called Zócalo, and most of the colonial cities here in Mexico have Zócalo, and it's a central hub of activity, and I've seen a lot of them, and this one here in Puebla is definitely one of my favorites. It's huge with a ton of green space. It's right next to the cathedral. There are a ton of restaurants and cafes and bars that have outdoor seating that surround the plaza. There's a beautiful central fountain. It's just a great spot to come down and soak up the ambiance here in Puebla. And every time I've come down here, I've seen something different go on, whether it's a live concert or some sort of political demonstration or a parade or a costume party. There's always something different going on, and it's a super interesting place just to come down and people watch and soak up the great atmosphere here in the historic center in the Zócalo. Another one of my favorite things to do here in Puebla is just wander around the beautiful historic streets in the historic center. There are so many historic buildings and colorful cobblestone streets. It's a great area just to wander around in and get lost. I'm currently on a street called the Callejón de Sapos, which translates into Alley of the Frogs. And so my understanding is years ago, this area used to fill up with frogs during the rainy season, and that's where it got its name. And you can come down here on the weekend, and on Sundays there's a big open air market where you can find handicrafts, antiques, and just soak up all of the great ambience. Another really great area to come and wander around in is a street called Cinco de Mayo. And here you'll find tons of shopping, so if you want to get your shopping in, this is definitely the place to come. You can find everything from clothing to shoes, hardware, and there's just pedestrian-only streets for blocks and blocks, and so it's a great place to just wander around. And it's got a lot of trees, so it's tree-lined and shady, and tons of activity down here. There's live music, and it's a great little area to come wander around in. Another great place to spend some time in while you're here in Puebla is in the Artist Quarter. And as you walk through this area, you can see artists have set themselves up to paint pictures, and their finished pictures are on display, and it's just got a really cool vibe. It's right next to the Parián market, so a great place to pick up a souvenir, whether Talavera pottery or a handicraft. It's a great place to hang out and soak up a little more of Puebla's atmosphere and have a beer in one of the many cafes and bars. Located next to the Zócalo, one of the most important historical buildings is the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception, otherwise known as the Basilica Cathedral of Puebla. This cathedral is one of the reasons why Puebla is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Construction began in 1575 and it was consecrated in 1649. Over the centuries, the cathedral has become home to many treasures, including giant paintings, sculptures, sacred vessels, and other ornaments. Puebla used to be called Puebla de los Ángeles, the city of angels. According to legend, angels helped to build the city of Puebla, including placing the large bell on top of the main cathedral. There are way too many churches to go into detail in this video, but in addition to the main cathedral, one of the most striking churches you should take in is the Santo Domingo Church. Its 17th century chapel of the Rosary features beautiful paintings, wood carvings, and everything is dripping in 24-karat gold leaf. It has earned a reputation for being the 8th wonder of the world. And as you wander around the city, you can feast your eyes on several other architectural beauties. You will encounter beautiful hand-painted ceramic tiles on many buildings, including churches, particularly on bell towers, domes, and facades as accents on brickwork. These are known as Talavera tiles, a distinct type of ceramics only produced in the state of Puebla, and nowhere else in the world can you find authentic Talavera ceramics. Talavera can be seen throughout Puebla and is a defining characteristic of the city. If you're looking for something beautiful and unique to buy from Puebla, you may wish to consider buying some authenticated Talavera pottery in Puebla, available mainly as plates, vases, pitchers, and figurines. Puebla is also home to a network of subterranean tunnels that were built beginning in the 16th century. For a long time, these tunnels were the subject of local legends until they were rediscovered many years later in 2014. The underground network is estimated to extend 10 kilometers. Thought to have been built and expanded for many reasons, including for an escape route, to hide treasures, and to store weapons, these tunnels now offer a fascinating glimpse into Puebla's past. These tunnels were thought to have been used during the Battle of Puebla in 1862 against the French. Today, this battle is celebrated as Cinco de Mayo, often mistaken for Mexico's Independence Day, which is actually on September 16, 1810. If you're interested in reading more about the history and meaning of Cinco de Mayo in Puebla, I'll leave a link in the description to a blog post I wrote about this historic battle in Puebla. Another interesting thing to do while you're in Puebla is to visit the Palafoxiana Library. UNESCO recognizes the Palafoxiana as being the first and oldest in the Americas. It was founded in 1646 when a local bishop donated 5,000 books. Not only was it the first, but it also became one of the largest in the 17th century, collecting thousands of books, manuscripts, and historical records. Over 45,000 books and manuscripts published between the 15th and 20th centuries can be found here. Let's talk about food. Puebla is definitely one of the crown jewels here in Mexico in terms of food. And there are so many great foods to try while you're here in Puebla. Too many for me to go into detail in this video, but there are definitely a few that I am going to highlight that you cannot leave without trying. And you will not be disappointed. The food here is delicious. So let's start with the most famous dish from Puebla, Mole Poblano, which is a rich, dark, and savory sauce made with chocolate and often served with chicken or turkey, though vegetarian options are also available in Puebla. If you had to choose only one dish to eat in Puebla, it should be this one. The dish has pre-Hispanic roots when it was called mole and was served during Aztec rituals. The arrival of Europeans brought many new ingredients that have been incorporated into the modern dish, which now includes about 20 to 30 different ingredients depending on the restaurant or family recipe. One of the restaurants next to the Zócalo, called Comal, serves a delicious mole poblano, and it comes with a beautiful view of the historic Puebla Cathedral if you can get one of the balcony tables. You can also order a dish with 3 different kinds of moles originating in Puebla, including mole poblano, pipián verde, and pipián rojo. Pipián verde is a green mole made with pumpkin seeds, and pipián rojo is a red mole made with tomatoes and chili peppers. Now let's talk about cemitas, which are a kind of sandwich that originate in Puebla. You can find all different kinds of cemitas, including cheese, chicken, pork, and stuffed peppers, just to name a few. They are typically served on a crunchy bread roll covered in sesame seeds, along with sliced avocado, Oaxacan cheese, onions, and an herb called papalo, as well as chipotle or jalapeno depending on your preference. They are gigantic and delicious. I'll leave the name and address to my favorite spot for cemitas in the description below. Puebla is also home to many different traditional sweets. In fact, Puebla has an entire street dedicated to sweets.
It is on Avenue 6 Oriente, often referred to as El Calle de los Dulces, or Street of Sweets. La Gran Fama is one of the most highly recommended sweet shops on the street. I stopped into this shop and asked for 3 of their most famous desserts and sweets from Puebla. They gave me a camote, which is a kind of candy made from sweet potatoes, a tortita de Santa Clara, which is a kind of cookie made with a sweet pumpkin seed center, and a mostaccioni, candy made simply of sugar and milk. I liked all 3, but the most unusual was the camote, and I think these are the most popular in town. I definitely recommend sampling some of the local sweets while you're in Puebla. Did you know that the biggest pyramid in the world is in Mexico? Even bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. The pyramid is located in Cholula, an easy day trip from Puebla, only about 45 minutes by bus. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next featured video that will unravel the Great Pyramid of Cholula dating back to 300 BC.